Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for this session at the Technology Conference for Palm Beach County. We are here today with Kimberly Siegfried and Austen Gordon. Um, they will be talking about students can be academic influencers. So, real quick, before we go on, I'm going to do just a little bit of housekeeping. Please make sure that on the right-hand side, you use that chat box to communicate. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And know that anyone with the EdTech name is part of the moderators. And on YouTube, you're going to see that they have a wrench. Any questions can be directed to them. Again, we are here with Kimberly Siegfried. She is a sixth grade ancient world history teacher at Hal Watkins. And also we have Austen Gordon with us. He is an eighth grade U.S. history teacher. Kimberly will be sharing first, followed by Austen. So Kimberly will go first. Before we go on, I just want to tell you a little bit about our agenda today. So hopefully you've all were with us with the opening session for Mr. Adam. I'm not going to say his last name because I don't want to butcher it. Then session A, hopefully you had some great learning opportunities there. If you haven't gone to the Kumo space or the exhibit hall, I highly suggest you do. Kumo space is new this year and it's so neat to interact and participate in. And we are now in session B. So know that there is also a session C and then the student voice panel. So without further ado, this one last thing, sorry. This is the amazing educational technology team. They have put this conference on for us today and are running it. So kudos to them. I'm going to add on Miss Kimberly's presentation. And we are going to go ahead and get started. So, Kimberly, I'm going to pass the baton to you.
Thank you kindly. Good morning, everybody. And I'm so glad you have an opportunity to be at the conference. Today, I'm going to share 3 amazing apps to help our student with their learning: Book Creator, Inspiration, and Green Screen. Book Creator is online, as is Inspiration and Green Screen. I am showing these as an app on our Apple iPad. Okay. The Book Creator is a useful tool for the kids to take notes. They can do vocabulary. They can be extremely creative. It really helps with student engagement, and it's a wonderful resource. When we start out with Book Creator, the kids do a book all about themselves, and that right away hooks them. We have to compete with so much technology today and social media like TikTok and all of this, the platforms that the kids want to be on. So we need to get them hooked on the things they like. Next. Here's an example of they're creating a book for the unit on Mesopotamia or ancient Egypt. And they take the notes, but they have to add their own pictures that are that collaborate their learning and make it sense of what the sentence is or whatever the notes they are taking. Again, please. They can change the font, they can change the color, they can make it comic book-like, any way to enhance their learning. Press it again, please. Because they have the ability to be creative with it, they really enjoy working with it, and it helps reinforce what we learned. Okay. Adding pictures. Here we go. Here's an example. We used.
Hello.
Sometimes we can put in the vocabulary that helps. Here's an example of what it means to them to add different photos, add a little bit of script. They can add emojis. And at the end, we put a concept web. These are all of the things we incorporated in doing the Book Creator for the unit. I love this. Shawnee is visiting a Mesopotamian ziggurat, and that is our green screen. That also gets incorporated. Excellent, thank you. And here is an example of a student who loves to work with Book Creator.
I like working with Book Creator because
It makes life more easier, and it also gives you open notes, which is much better. And you can also do different type of themes and different colors, make the words bigger, and you can also go back and look at it anytime you need.
Thank you, Trinity. Here is a colleague who just absolutely loves it for ELL students, Ms.
I
Roberts.
must say that my top technology usage implementation this year would be definitely the book creator. Miss Siegfried has brought the book creator to actually serve so much more than what it's supposed to serve. The students use them as notebooks, and in the classroom, they're taking their notes and adding sentences and words that are relevant to the lesson, but they're also able to add pictures or photos that have a connection to the word. Now, the coolest part to the book creator for me, I would definitely say would be the idea that it allows the app to read anything and everything that they put inside of their creation or their template and bring it to life by it reading back to them. So it has served like more than a reasonable purpose to my ELL students and has brought much growth in those necessary areas.
Thank you, Ms. Roberts. Okay. Okay, I see Erica's question. Do you have the app and online licenses? That I don't know. That's through the administration. You do have the app at Grove Park. Okay. It is available online, and I'm not sure how to do that, but if you ask administration, or if you can ask some of the tech people, they'll be able to help you with that. Great question. Here is an example of a young lady who is our ELL student, and what we are doing with the ELL students is when they type the notes in English, what they do is copy and paste it into Google Translate in their native language, and then insert that in Book Creator as well as some pictures and graphics. It's very powerful. Here we go. Let's listen.
Is fun for me because I try to learn English more, and he helped me to learn English, and I can add pictures on the pages, and I in the book creator he read it back to me the what I'm writing.
Okay, thank you. At the end of each unit that we do in Ancient World History, we add a concept map, and we use the Inspiration app for that. What a tremendous resource to take everything that they've learned and create an outline. And ordinarily, a pencil and paper outline is fairly boring for students. I mean, not that they don't need it, they do need it, but to be able to add the outline and then turn it around and see a concept map or vice versa is very powerful. Next slide, let's see. Here's one on Mesopotamia. So they have the main ideas and then they give examples. They can add pictures. I know at a glance if the student has gotten the concept of the unit and the most important information based on this. You could use this in ELA for sure, science, across most subject areas. If you flip it to the other side in Inspiration, you get the outline map. Next one. And then I can see at a glance, oh, they understand that there was polytheism and that the ziggurats were religious and some achievements, innovations. I know from that, it's an easy way to grade that the students get it and they love it. Here's another example. This one is on the Four Noble Truths. A very hard concept for students. But when you add the graphics, when you add individuality and creativity, it takes even the lowest students that raises their awareness and their ability to learn. Next. When we started with Inspiration, to get them hooked, we had them do All About Me, and they love that part. Their favorite foods, what they're going to do in the future, what they like to do for fun, and their friends. It was very revealing because then at a glance I can see, does this student have friends? It's part of the SEL. What if they listed their dog or their brother as their friend? So it's very eye-opening as an educator to see what the students put down. This one was based on a novel that we read, and it was Forged by Fire. And they had to take the characters and then give information and their opinion about each character and why they were the way they were. Next. All right, the last one is probably my favorite. It's green screen. The green screen app, and the kids can have this on their phone if you allow phones in the classroom, is great for reflection. It is personalizing the content. It helps with vocabulary, and students are very engaged with this. You have to have excellent classroom management, I think, to make sure that this goes well, because you don't want students doing anything inappropriate or taking pictures of other students. I'll give you an example, the next one. What we did for the Nile, this young lady wanted to have a picture that was relevant to the Nile. She knows nothing about the Nile. She's learning about it. And we talked about what type of animals would have been in the Nile or that are there now. Oh, a hippopotamus and a crocodile. And just the idea of, okay, there's this animal that lives in the Nile, and she thinks that's terrific, that she has that in her toolbox that she can add to her book creator. And I love it. Okay. Ms. Drayden, I don't know if there's licenses for inspiration. That's a great question, and one for the administrators or the people in the IT. I'm not really sure. All right, press it again. This one I love, Ruby Bridges. We were doing Black History Month, and we were doing IB profile learners for our IB section. We had a student who wanted to be like Ruby Bridges, wanted to be next to her or near her. So we took green screen and we put her in front of green screen, and she tried to duplicate that moment. Now, when we took her picture, she said, Miss Siegfried, I'm in color. I'm not in black and white like Ruby Bridges. We changed that, printed it out. She wrote her portion, and I just love the effect. Again. The next one was Harriet Tubman. Again, these students will never, ever have an opportunity to meet these people. However, by offering green screen, it gives them an opportunity to be a part of that history. And I think that's powerfully creative. Again. All right, well, that's it. Book creator, inspiration, and green screen. I hope you enjoyed it. And I have to tell you that being a teacher today with the technology that we have and that's offered is probably by far the best time in my life. Thank you so much for joining us. Any questions?
Thank you so much, Kim. My question for you is, we had many people wondering how to get this technology, and I'm wondering, are you using it on Chromebooks or iPads?
I'm using it on iPads. It is available online, so you could do it through the internet. So you could do it through Chromebook. I'm not sure about licensing. That part I don't know. But those are great questions, and I'm glad that people have an interest, because it can dramatically change what you're doing in the classroom.
We have a question for you. Erica wants to know, when kids are using Book Creator, do they stay on the iPads or share with others?
What a wonderful question. One thing about Book Creator is you can set it up where each student does their own book, and as should be, but they can collaborate and work together. When they are finished their presentation, I, with their permission, will show it in class. Say, oh, can I show you yours? Because this is phenomenal work. Of course, they all want to show theirs. Oh, can I show mine? Can I show mine? So yes, they get to see what other people are doing.
Okay, so someone from EdTech, I'm not sure who, shared that there is a web version of Book Creator 2 that works on Chromebooks, which is phenomenal because we all have Chromebooks, and has sharing and collaboration opportunities. So whoever in the background added that, we thank you very much. Somebody on the EdTech team.
Okay, I want to thank you for the opportunity to present these wonderful resources, and thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly. We appreciate all of your information and knowledge that you've shared with us today. Um, without further ado, we're going to add Austin, Mr. Austin Gordon, to the screen with us. Mr. Austin Gordon, as I shared before, is an eighth grade teacher at Hal Watkins. He teaches U.S. history, and he is going to share his presentation with us today.
Yes. So, good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending the 2022 Technology Education Conference. Thank you, Mrs. Siegfried, for a wonderful presentation on book creator, inspiration, and green screen. You did a wonderful job doing so. So let me go ahead and talk about implementation of technological lessons that enhance engagement. And let me see if it full screen. Perfect. So let me go ahead and change the slide here so we can all see. So for today's presentation, or my presentation, I'm going to be talking about what is Nearpod, how do you implement it, the evidence of Nearpod, and a short video of a student talking about her experiences using Nearpod. So Nearpod is an online resource for teachers to use for their lessons to add an interactive aspect for students. What's so important in the classroom is to have students be engaged in the work. They need to be able to be excited about what they're learning, be able to comprehend what they're learning, and be interactive with their learning. And that way they can be participants of their own learning. They can be owners of their knowledge. As we know, it is important. I think someone's asking a question, is there a license for inspiration? And I believe Ms. Siegfried tried to answer and said she's not sure, that you could always reach out to admin about that. But going back to what I was referring to about Nearpod, know that it is a slide-based instructional tool that can assist with PowerPoints or Google Slides that teachers may have created previously. So what's so nice about Nearpod is that when you go into Nearpod, if you already had Google Slides or PowerPoints you've created in the past and you want to make it more interactive for students, all you have to do is access Nearpod and you can upload those old Google Slides and PowerPoints and add in some of the Nearpod functionalities. And some of those functionalities could be online quizzes, polls, surveys, bell ringers, whatever you think might get the students engaged and interactive, because we know that's so important in the classroom. And especially nowadays, we want students to be able to know what they're learning and have fun with it, because that's what education learning should be. It should be a fun activity for students, but hopefully also they're learning in the same process. So with Nearpod, students are able to actively participate from the comfort in their classroom. So for teachers who are in person, you can always use Nearpod on a live participation based. Or you can always, if you are a remote teacher or if you do virtual teaching, you can always use Nearpod through that online format. So if you've used Google Meet, you can always present the Nearpod there, and students on the online environment can do that as well. So I use it in my classroom because I am an in-person teacher at H.L. Watkins. And so I like to use it in my classroom. I present the Nearpod on the smartboard, and I have the students join in on their iPads. And what's nice about Nearpod is that it gives teachers real-time formative assessments. Formative assessments is so important for students and important for teachers, because that way you can gauge what students have been learning about the lesson and about the content at that point. You want to be able to say, okay, did students understand the concept of the French and Indian War? Did they understand the concept of the colonial economy? What were the different crops? What were the region like? What different types of governments are there? So with the formative assessments within Nearpod that you can create, it's so important that you could see what students are able to understand at that point. And if you need to go back and reteach, that's your most important place to do it, because it gives you that information in real time. You can also assign polls, quizzes, bell ringers, exit tickets, collaboration board, and again, that data is in real time. So when you access Nearpod, and I know maybe some of us are familiar with it, or I've heard a colleague used it, it is so important that when you use it, if you do the live participation, you do get that information in real time. You can also assign Nearpod as a homework assignment. You can tell students, okay, this is a Nearpod code, this is information. You can do it at home, and that way, students can do it as a homework assignment versus doing in live participation. Maybe if you didn't have the opportunity to do so in the classroom, you can also do it for homework. I like to do the polls and surveys to also see how students are feeling about the content at the time. So for example, if I'm doing a formative assessment of the French and Indian War, I say, great, students understand that the British lost the war within the French and Indian War. Now, do they feel comfortable with that? Were they comfortable with what they learned? So I like to add a survey that says, okay, from a 0 to a 4, how are you feeling on that scale? Are you at a 0? You really have, you were not confident with your answer. Or are you at a 4? You were confident with what you learned. You felt comfortable with, the information that was presented. You felt comfortable with the Nearpod, because it's important that students also have an emotional connection to engagement. Engagement is not just students, answering a question in the Nearpod, or, if they're in the classroom, raising their hand to answer about the Nearpod instruction. It's also knowing that students are confident in their answers, because confidence is such a key. Like today, I'm confident about my presentation because I know what I'm referring to. And also I'm, proficient with what I'm referring to. So it's important that when you do Nearpod, you can also add polls or surveys that kind of see where students are with their confidence level with the content. And you can also do exit tickets, whatever you can do in your classroom or in your online learning environment to make it easier on yourself and make it easier to track students' engagement and also what their understanding of the content. So how to implement Nearpod. So it's so nice, at least for the teachers in Palm Beach County, the school district, we're able to use Nearpod using our district portal tile page. So when you log in, usually you went to a district page, once you log in, you could just type in search applications. And once you type in Nearpod, there is an option for Nearpod and Nearpod ELLs. So if you have a class that's maybe an ELL class, if you're in elementary and you're teaching Florida government to a class that's ELL, maybe you can use a Nearpod ELL app to help you. I usually use the Nearpod, regular app. And that way, when I sign into it, I use my Google District email, or I use Clever. And then once I log in, I can just go ahead and start creating and making engaging lessons for students. So that applies to anyone. If you're not from Palm Beach County School District, if you're in any other county in maybe Florida or even around the world or the country, you can always just access it using Nearpod by going to www.nearpod.com or just searching up in the internet, and usually allows you to sign in using your Google District email, or you can use Clever. So once you log in, you're able to start creating and making the lessons. If you already have Google Slides or PowerPoints that you've made in the past, you can always upload those and just make them more engaging. So some players, it says, when you use Nearpod, do you have a license beyond the free access version? I've been using the free access, but I have to erase when I'm ready to do a new lesson. So for me, I use the free access version because it is free, so it is a nicer version. But when I create new lessons, it doesn't delete the old lessons. It still has the old lesson there for me to reuse. So I'm not entirely sure why it deletes the last lesson that you would have had. But for me, when I create new lessons, my old lesson is still there that I can reuse in the future. So for example, if I have a lesson from October 13th of last year, I can use it in today's real time. So I don't have a license for Nearpod. I do use the free access version, as I feel like free is always the best. I haven't had access to the premium version just yet, the licensed version, but maybe someone from the tech team could speak on that. But circling back to what I was referring to, for teachers who maybe are new to Nearpod, there are pre-made materials that are available for teachers who might need extra assistance to create lessons that are interactive for all. So if you're teaching maybe 12th grade economics or 11th grade US history, or maybe, again, something in 4th grade, some with history, there is information and materials available for you. So if you're not comfortable making your own Nearpod lesson, or maybe you're a new teacher who's creating your own new lesson, there's already materials available. You just have to kind of filter through it and make it work for your lesson and for your students. You can always use the Nearpod code for students, either through a Google Classroom, or you can do it through the individual lesson. So what I like to use is use my smartboard, present the Nearpod code, and have students access it that way. So now what's most important is evidence, right? I just talked about what is Nearpod, how to implement it if you haven't done so already. And now you want to see the evidence of students. So here on the left side, you can see I have my smartboard, which thankfully the school district Palm Beach County has provided teachers. This way I present my Nearpod code. This is where I present the screen that I'm going to be sharing with students. And in the classroom, the students have their iPads. If you can see to the right side, I know it's kind of hard to see, but if you can see on the right-hand screen, you can see the students have their iPads open. They've joined the Nearpod. And that way, if there's any information, like a bell ringer that I have presented, they can go ahead and comment into Nearpod. They can comment on each other's posts. And so you can always filter it if you need to. There is an option to edit student responses or to, let's make sure, filter what they say, because sometimes students might not be the most appropriate with what they want to write. So just make sure if you're giving them an option to brainstorm about a topic as a bell ringer, make sure maybe if you know your class might not be the most appropriate with an answer, make sure you're filtering through their comments and deleting them if necessary, or approving the right ones. And then on my next slide I have here, another evidence of Nearpod is my students here. This was in my third period class. We had a collaborative board. So what this is within Nearpod is where it's a white collaborative board. So what I have students do is I have them come up to the smart board, and I have those students who are maybe more of a kinetic learner be able to go up and try to, brainstorm what the topic we're talking about. So for example, in that lesson, I was talking about, what is white Southerners, why do you think white Southerners would have want to have kept slaves? And so what I had those 3 students do is go up to the board, and I had the other students who were seated, raise their hand and kind of give answers. And then the students who were standing up, they were the ones who were able to write on the collaborative board. And in the same time, on the students' iPads within Nearpod, they're seeing the same information on the smart board as comes on their iPad. So as the students are writing on the smart board, it also is coming on the students' iPads, so that way they can follow along. If they can't, maybe they can't see the screen because some of the students are blocking it when they're writing some of the answers that others have put in. And then lastly, I have just a quick video of a student's comment on Nearpod. So let me go ahead and present that.
I like using Nearpod because it gives me the chance to use our iPads, and it makes history more fun.
So that's one of my students. She likes using the iPads. I think most students do. When I always take the iPad card out, they're like, "Oh, Mr. Gordon, can I get the iPad? Can I get the iPad?" I said, "Yes, but we're doing it for Nearpod reasons. We're doing it for the learning reasons. We're not just using it to have fun, right?" But they really do enjoy using the Nearpod. They like that it keeps them excited, it keeps them interactive, and it keeps them engaged. I want to make sure that students are engaged in their lessons. And what's so nice about Nearpod is it's not only just for social studies, you can do it for any subject. So if you teach science, if you teach math, if you teach an elective, you can always use Nearpod in any other subject. And so with that concludes my presentation on Nearpod and then how I implement it in the classroom. I can open it up to any questions if anyone has questions as to maybe how I implement it or how to access it, because like I said, I like using Nearpod and it keeps it fun for the students. So like I said, if anyone has questions or maybe a comment, you want to say something nice about what I said, that would always be good as well.
I thank you so much, Austen, for coming and joining us today. Kimberly, I'm going to pop you back up as well. Thank you so much. You both are a wealth of information. We can't thank you enough for being such wonderful educators at Hal Watkins and for sharing all of your knowledge with us today. Unless there's any further questions, we're going to pop out. Please note that there are still prizes to give away. So please make sure you stay with us and you have that opportunity for prizes. Again, in the comments, if you haven't yet, you have to do it one time throughout the day. Hashtag PBC Tech Conf to enter you into the prize drawing. So have a wonderful day. Enjoy, learn, and we'll catch you in session C.